Good morning, everybody. How are you? It's Christine Ludwig from Christine's Stamping Spot from St. Albert, Alberta, Canada. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. Thank you for joining me today from wherever you are tuning in from. Let me know in the comments where you're from. Always nice to see who's joining us today. So how are you on this Friday, this snowy Friday here? We got our first real stay on the ground snow, I'm going to call it, yesterday. It was supposed to start more in the evening, but it surprised us and started just around noonish shortly after. My sister and I were out for her belated birthday lunch, and her daughter called her and said, "It is snowing here." And she said, "What?" And where we were, there was not one flake had come down. It was just dry as a bone on the streets. So sure enough, when we were heading back home, we ran into it and couldn't believe what was sitting on the streets already. So it continued most of the evening and into the night, and I think finally stopped this morning. So my husband's guessing probably, I don't know, a couple of inches anyways. So chance of a few more flurries maybe today, although right now the sun is shining and there's some blue sky outside, so it will hopefully hold off for a while. So where are you guys from? Are you having snow where you are, or is it nice and balmy and warm? Anyone coming back from a warm holiday? Wow, a bit of a shock to the system for sure. So today we are gonna still focus on Christmas. We're heading into December on Monday. Oh my gosh, can you believe it? I kind of posted a little engagement post the other day wondering how people were doing with their Christmas shopping, because I have not even really started. It's my daughter's birthday this weekend, so we kind of deal with that and celebrate that first, and then we kind of go into Christmas shopping mode. But yeah, a lot of people, there's, some were kind of like me. There were some that had already started, some that were halfway done, and then there were some very, very organized people, and you know who you are, that had bought everything and wrapped everything and are now just going to be able to enjoy all of December doing all those other fun activities that people can do in December. So very wise. Hopefully I can do that someday. Okay, I'm going to flip my camera around, and today we are going to make, I think it's called a triple pocket treat holder. You could probably use it for gift cards too. This is an idea shared by my friend Tamara Bertram. She's on Tamara's Paper Trail. If you have not followed her, she's amazing. I think she was probably the 4th top demonstrator in Canada this last year. So very, very proud of her accomplishment. She's worked super hard. And I've known her for a number of years. We kind of started our Stampin' Up! Journeys around the same time. I think she was maybe 6 months to a year ahead of me. But she's amazing. So make sure you check her out. So I'm just going to flip my camera and show you what we are going to make today. So close your eyes for 1 second. I think it is this one. Yes. And I think I even have my orientation figured out this week. Last week went kind of squirrely. And I think that's possibly because there was a bit of an update on my phone. So I don't know if that had something to do with it. And with all the different models of, there we go, I think you can see my hands, hopefully. And with all the different versions of iPhones and everything, let me see if I can straighten this a little bit. With all the different versions of iPhones and stuff, it seems all the settings are in different places. So I'm never quite sure where I should be looking. So it takes me a little while to figure things out. So hopefully we have the orientation figured out this week, and we shall see what happens. Okay, I'm just going to quickly check if I am connected here on my computer. Yes, I think I am. Oh, good morning, my dear friend Fanny and my sister Irene. Fanny, my dear friend Fanny. She, I believe, is tuning in from Tanzania. Oh my goodness, how great. What time is it there? That I'm very curious about. But so wonderful to have you tune in, my dear friend. Awesome. And my sister's here, Irene, that's awesome. Okay, so I'm going to show you what we're going to make. And it is, I have a different version I'll show you later. This right here. So I hope you can see that. So I'm calling this well, I think Tamara was actually calling this a triple pocket holder, and that's because you have room here for a little greeting, and in your second pocket you can put a little treat or some, I put in just a little pack of tea, but you could put some hot chocolate, maybe a cookie or something. And then in this pocket, you have a place where you can write a little greeting or a little message. So these are nice to leave on a coworker's desk or, friend's, neighbor's mailbox, or just somebody you run into, maybe at the bank if you have great service. I don't know, just something little, or a stocking stuffer if you wanted to put a gift card in or something instead of a tea bag. So you can always customize it to whatever you would like to do. And so I'm going to see if I can show you how to make this. I've only done this a couple of times, so bear with me. Okay, so I have to bring out my paper trimmer because we are going to do a little bit of scoring and cutting, but I am going to use this Elegant Pine Snowflakes designer paper. It's the 12 by 12. Of course, I have used some of it, so that's why it's all chopped up here. But it's a really pretty, just sort of some pine spruce branches, some holly. You've got this really nice darker green one, which is the one I used on my sample here, so you can see it on the back, right? And so you can pick. It doesn't have to be Christmas. If you would like to make this as a little birthday packet, that would be nice too. Or, there's different occasions you could use this for. Okay, so I'll bring out my paper trimmer here. And we are, hopefully the live is working, I hope. Okay, so I'm going to bring out my paper trimmer and a piece of designer paper. So you're going to cut your paper down to 8.5 by 8.5, okay? So I'll just put this in here, line it up at 8.5. And 8.5 this way. This is a beautiful large snowflake in here. Okay. 8.5 by 8.5. So you've got a smaller square. Okay, that's our starting point. And then we have to do a little bit of scoring. Okay, so now the side that you want to be on the outside of your pocket, so for example, I have the green on the outside here, that is what you want to have facing down in your paper trimmer. Okay, so I want this to be sort of the back of my pocket, so I'm going to put that face down on the paper trimmer, and then I'm going to score at 2 1/8. Just double checking my measurements here. 2 1/8, which is here. So I'll do that. Make sure your cutting blade is out of the way. And can you guys see what I'm doing here? I hope so. Just give me a thumbs up if it's going the right way. I hope it is. Hope it's not repeating itself. Okay, so we're going to go 2 1/8. And just be careful with designer paper because it's a little bit thinner than our cardstock. So sometimes when we score, you don't want to score super, super hard because it could cut through your paper. My scoring blade is not that, I don't know if you want to say sharp, but it's not too bad. But you just want to make sure that you're not cutting through your paper. Okay, so the first score line was at 2 1/8, and the second one is at 6 3/8. Now, my paper trimmer, it's kind of hard here, if you can see. I've got this little black spot in here, and that's where the arm bends down, right? But there are measurements in there. And for me to find 6 3/8, I was a little bit nervous about where it might end up. So I'm just going to measure that and mark it with a pencil and a ruler. And then I can go back and score it, okay? So we want to do, we have 2 1/8 here, and then we want to do, I'm just going to move this out of the way for a sec so you can see. So on the bottom, we want to do 6 3/8, okay? So I'm just going to line this up just so I get this hopefully fairly straight. So 1, 2, 3. I'm just going to put a pencil mark. And that's what I'm going to line up in my trimmer, just because of that little spot on the, just because of this little dark spot. Like they have some lines, but I don't know if it's really very clear. Okay, so I'm going to line up that pencil mark in my track. And when it comes here, it's kind of about there. Is that right? Let me just double check that, because I'm always a little bit nervous. 6 3/8. This is just what I need to get figured out before we go further, because if your measurements are off, then it's not going to fold the way you want it to fold, right? So I think that's right. 6 3/8. 1, 2. Yep. Looks like 6 3/8 on my ruler. Always measure, what did they say? Measure twice and cut once, or whatever. We don't have to cut, but I just want to make sure. Yep, that's what it says, so we shall see. Okay. Hi, Marlene. Hi, Kathleen. Okay. So we are making a pocket treat holder, if you're wondering what I'm doing. Okay, so I have my pencil mark in my track, 6 3/8. Okay, it should probably be about there, I think. Okay, so we're going to score here, 6 3/8. Okay. And I can feel my 2 score lines. And then we are going to turn this 90 degrees, our DSP, and then we're going to score at 5 1/2. Okay. So again, make sure you have your scoring blade, not your cutting blade, because who hasn't had that happen to them before? Okay, so now we can put our paper trimmer away. That's all we need it for. All right, so now what you're going to do, take your bone folder, and you're just going to fold in on all of those score lines, okay? And just give them a burnish, like so. And then do this side. Oh, I wonder how the roads were in rush hour this morning. Probably not very fun to drive in. I know when I came home yesterday, they were getting icy. They were definitely getting icy in the intersections. I know there were some people having trouble getting started. And so if you don't have your winter tires on, I mean, ice is ice. It doesn't really matter so much, but at least it, you know, gives you a little more traction. But okay. Probably not too much fun this morning. All right, so we have our score lines. I know it's hard to see on this designer paper. Okay, so then first thing we're going to do is in each of these top corners, we're going to fold it over. Okay, our score line is here. I'm just going to show it to you. We're going to fold this in to just before the score line, okay, and give it a crease. So our score line is there. We're going to do that here and just burnish it so it's a nice crisp fold, and then we're going to do the same on the left side right here. Okay, so just make sure, I know it's a little bit hard to see. I could have just done this out of cardstock too, so you guys could see better, but it looks so lovely made out of designer paper. So, okay, so we have that done. So then when we fold it in, we want to make sure there's no resistance here, that this doesn't curl up, that there's enough room for it to fold. Okay, so this side is pretty good. Okay, and let's check this other side. That seems to close okay too. Okay, I think we're on the right track. All right. Okay, so when you're happy with that and it's closing nicely, you can put these down with adhesive, whether it's glue or whatever you like to use. Okay, so we'll just stick those down so you have the opposite side showing of your designer paper. Okay, and we'll just stick that down. Okay, so now on this bottom score line, what we want to do is we want to cut in from the edge, each edge left and right, to the score line. Okay, so let's find that. If it's easier to see it on the other side, you can do it there too, whichever is easier. So you're just going to cut straight across and stop at the score line, okay, on both sides like this. Okay, so when you flip it back over, you've got these two flaps. Okay, so let's just close this and you can see better where these flaps are. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to flip this over, okay, like this. So our flaps are at the top and the closed part is at the bottom. And then we're going to do the same thing on this side, but we're going to do it with these two corners. Okay, so again, you're going to find your score line and you're just going to fold in just before that score line. And I think this is the way I want it. Is that correct? Yes, I think it is. We shall find out. Okay, and then you're going to do the same on the left side. So find your score line, and you're just going to fold right before that score line, okay? All right. And just make sure those are nice and burnished, okay? All right, so then what you're going to do, let me just see if I get this right now. Do I have to flip it again? Yes. So I'm going to flip it back like this. Or is it like this? Like this. And we're going to take the bottom, so where this score line is, you're going to fold it up. And then these pieces are going to fold in. Okay? So you've got one. Oh, no, I did that wrong. Hang on, it has to be this way. Sorry. It has to be this way. This folds up, and then these fold in. Sorry, I got that backwards. My apologies. Okay, so then you've got your one pocket here, your one pocket here, and your one pocket here. Isn't that cool? Just how that all folds. It's kind of like origami. Kind of neat how that is. Okay. So the only parts we're going to seal down here are these ends here, okay, because we want the sides to hold. So you can put liquid glue there, or you could put a piece of tear and tape there too. I think I'm going to use some tear and tape. just because it holds fairly well. And hopefully my insert won't get in the way. How are you guys doing? Everybody awake this Friday morning? Okay, so let's put some there. Because that's going to seal up, and that is going to seal up. And I'll put a little bit here. Okay, a little bit here. All right, so let's take this off. Take this one off. And then you're going to just fold this up like so. Okay. Great. And then what we want to do is just put a bit of adhesive along the bottom here and the bottom here so that when it's folded, it's going to be sealed at the bottom. Okay. So for that, I think I'll just use some liquid glue. Will probably hold pretty good. Okay, so I'm just gonna take out my glue and just put a little bit along the bottom edge here. And mine's starting to run out here. Let's see, maybe I picked the wrong bottle. Do I have another one? Oh, I think I do. Okay, let me try this other one. Maybe I'll have more luck. We're all going through a lot of adhesive this time of year with all the Christmas cards and projects and things that we're making. Okay, so I have some there, so I'm going to just fold that over and line it up with that bottom edge. And then I'm going to put a little bit, oops, should have held on to that a bit. Put a little bit here and close that. Okay, there you go. I think that was better. Hopefully I didn't get too much glue all over the cardstock there. All right. Okay, so see how we have those 3 pockets? 1, 2, 3. I think that's really cool. All right, so now we're going to just decorate a bit and insert a couple of things. Some cardstock here. So for this large pocket, I cut a piece of real red and, or sorry, not real red, this is cherry cobbler and basic white. Okay. Does it fit in a regular envelope? I am going to grab one after and we will try. Okay. If I measure it, I might be able to tell you too. So we'll get to that right at the end. I hope it does, because that would be cool. Okay, so the cherry cobbler, I cut it 5 1/4 by 3 3/4, and the basic white at 5 by 3 1/2. Okay, so I'm going to put those on top of each other, or the white on top of the cherry cobbler. Oh my gosh, words are hard this morning. Oh, okay, so let's center this on top. I did the cherry cobbler because there is some cherry cobbler in this paper, and I didn't want to have more green going on. This paper has a lot of greens, let me tell you. If you're always wondering, look on the back here. It'll tell you the colors in the designer paper, and you can pull out those colors in your projects. So there's cherry cobbler, garden green, old olive, pretty peacock, secret sea, and shaded spruce. So a lot of greens. So I thought, well, there are some red berries on here somewhere here. Maybe not that many, but I thought, let's just bring out that red and make it pop a little bit. And with some of that paper that we cut off here, I think I'm going to put a little strip just at the bottom for a little bit of a decoration, so it's not so plain. So that will have to be 3 1/2. 3 1/2. Get my paper trimmer again. I guess we do still need it. So I'm going to do about 1/2 inch wide. And 3 1/2 or 1/2 inch high, 3.5, which it is exactly 3.5, bonus. And we're going to put that here just at the bottom for a little bit of a decoration, so you can decide which side you would like to show. I think I'm going to go with the pine branches here, or the pine. And I'm just going to put it here towards the bottom edge. Try to get it on straight is the question. Okay, just to give it a little bit of something. Okay, so we'll set that aside for a sec. Actually, you know what? Let's put it in. We'll put it in here in our little folder, like so. And then for the bottom, I have another piece of cherry cobbler in basic white. Cherry cobbler 3 1/4 by 2 1/2, and basic white 3 by 2 1/4. But I'm going to stamp on here. I want to stamp Merry Christmas, and I think it should fit. So I pulled that out from the Traditional Labels stamp set. It's a bundle actually with some dies. Okay, so you get these really nice label dies, which are kind of fun to add, even this nice little banner. Okay, so I pulled out Merry Christmas. I'm going to do it in cherry cobbler. You have to make this now, Kathleen, hey? Well, it's a good little stocking stuffer or just little gifts for someone. So I'm going to stamp this a little bit towards the top because I want it to show once it's in the pouch. So let's do Merry. Okay, and then I have Christmas. Now this is kind of a long one, so I'm hoping, I think it should fit. Let's do, excuse my head if it gets in the way. Let's do Christmas here. Well, it's pretty good. There, Merry Christmas, not too bad. Little bit long, but it works. You could definitely do something else on there if you wanted. Okay, so if you want to do happy birthday, if you're making it a birthday pouch, you could do that. Okay, so like so. And then this one, maybe I'll put a little bit of that designer paper on the bottom again, but this one has to be 2 1/4 by about 1/2 inch. So let me cut that down. So we'll do our 1/2 inch and our 2 1/4. Okay. Oops. And we will stick that on the bottom. Now, do I want this one or do I want the pine again? I really like this pine pattern. I don't know. We all have so much designer paper in our stash, right? Like you could just make all kinds of different patterns with this. They'd all look different. Okay, so this guy is ready to go. And he is going to go in here. All right. But before we put this in, I'm going to add a little bit of ribbon. I'm just going to fancy this up a little. You don't have to. I've pulled out this, I don't know if this is still current, the silver and white sheer ribbon that we had before. I think it would look nice with the snowflakes. So I'm just going to wrap this around. I'm going to put, let me see how wide this is. I think we'll do it so this is sort of centered there. Okay, so I'm just going to put a bit of adhesive under here to tack it down, this end. I'm not going to tie a bow. You could if you wanted. Okay, so let's just straighten that a little bit. We're just going to wrap it around flat on the back. could tack it down on the back too if you wanted, which I might just do, just so it has a little bit extra of an anchor there. Okay, let's get this that way. And then back over here. Okay, so I'm going to put a little more adhesive right here. And you don't have to be this fancy if you don't want to. I just think it makes it look a little prettier. Okay, so let's tack that down and cut that off. Does this look complicated? Because it's not really. It just has a few steps. But once you've made one, they actually go not too bad. Okay, so let's just get this ribbon out of the way. So anyone doing Christmas shopping this weekend? Me? I don't know. We're doing birthday stuff, so I don't know if we'll do Christmas shopping. Probably not this weekend. Okay, and then I want to add a little snowflakes. So for that, I pulled out these Snowflake Kisses dies. And they're kind of cute. They've got these little ones. Here's like a corner piece you can stick in the corner. And then they have this really large one that you can use on the front of a card, which would be very neat. Have something, either designer paper or just a white behind it. I think that would be lovely. And then this circle for your greeting. And oh, I think this would be really, really nice snowflake winter cards even. Okay, so I cut out 2 of these. Where are they? Here we go. I cut out a silver one and just a white one. So I used, I think it was this die and the small die here. And those I'm just going to put on each other with a glue dot or 2, just to tack that down here. Hopefully that should hold on the silver. Now I might just offset these a little, just to give it a little bit of a different look, like so. And then I'll put a couple of glue dots. I don't know if I do a dimensional because I think that might get caught on stuff. I think I'll just put maybe a couple of glue dots. Whoop. Not on my finger, but on the paper. Right. How are you guys doing? Are you hanging in there? Or am I? Hope I'm not boring you. Okay, so let's put our snowflake on. So I'm going to put him kind of right in the center. Kind of like so. Okay, so that just jazzes it up a little bit. So then you have your greeting. You can write on here. Oh, and in the inside of here, I was going to add, oh, where did I put them? Here they are. These are the traditional sparkling sequins. Look at these. Are these not just really colorful? You see that sheen? And you get so many different colors. You get the red. This is like a lemon or a granny apple green, the blue, silver, and gold. So I'm just going to peel off the silver one, I think. I think this is silver. Or is it gold? Is it all gold? Maybe I'm hallucinating. Or can I put a blue one in there? Maybe I should just try a blue one. Or would that be... Does that look odd? The blue with all that green? Well, I'm going to put it on anyway. Hopefully, oops, they are self-adhesive, so it should stick. Maybe that will pick up some of this sort of pretty peacock that's in there. I thought it had silver. Oh my gosh. I looked at these last night and I thought for sure it was silver. Oops. I guess they're just gold. And you've got some smaller ones up here too. So, okay, that is it for decorating. So then when you put this all together, you have your large one here. And you can put in your tea or your hot chocolate. in the second pouch. Okay, and your Merry Christmas in the third pouch, like so. So you have a little sort of treat pack for somebody, right? Let me see, how big is this? Well, it's 4 1/4. It might be just a tad big for an envelope, depending what you put in it, I think. So let me see. I've got this hot chocolate, which is a little bit thicker. Let me try the one with the tea. Oh, Fanny, look. Depending on your snowflake embellishment. Ooh, I don't want to get that caught. You might have to raise that up a little bit, or just be careful when you put it in your envelope. But it does. Oh, bonus. It fits. It's a little bit thick is the thing. Hopefully it'll still go through the post office. But it fits. Hey, I'm glad you asked that question. This one, yikes, because it's a little bit thicker, it's going to make for an even thicker envelope. So this one, you might need extra postage or something if you wanted to mail it, because it is thicker. Yeah, this is definitely thicker. So this you'll have to probably pay extra if you're putting the hot chocolate in. But if you're just hand delivering them, it would work, right? Okay, so I had those two, and then the very first one I tried, I did out of the traditional Christmas designer paper. This is the one with all the gold foil on it. We used this at my Christmas class last week. It does fit, you're right. This is a really beautiful paper too. If I take out that hot chocolate, and here you can kind of see the different colors. So I pulled out the pool party in here for my background for this little guy. This one I just did in the real red, and I put my stripe down the side. But after I did it, I realized you can kind of see that stripe here. So it's up to you. It's not a really big to do. And then I just added my bow with some glue dots. You might want to put that down a little tighter. And then for the tea, it works, right? You can put some tea in there. So you've got a couple of different patterns. And if you play with all of your designer paper, I think you're gonna get some really neat little pouches. And if you do stockings, they'd be cute little stocking stuffers. And like I said, you could, instead of tea, you could put, you could stick a gift card in here, or you know, what else could you put in here? A little cookie, if it's not too thick. But if you're just hand delivering it, it would be fine. Or some chocolate, you know, like the, which ones am I thinking of? The Ghirardelli ones, you know, they're in the square foil packs. You could stick one of those in there. Something that's not super, super thick. I find this hot chocolate is a little bit thick, the ones I had around. But the tea is really good. I don't know if you can fit, I don't think you can fit 2 in here though. It might be a little bit snug, but one's not too bad. Okay, so let me flip my camera. How do I do that now? Flip, flip, flip. There we are. I'm back. It worked. Oh, I was a little stressed about this camera orientation today because the last week it didn't go well and I couldn't figure out what was happening. So I'm glad it worked this time. So I think what I might do is do a video on this, maybe. Or no, I don't have to do it because I am going to save this video, this live. I'm going to save it to my YouTube channel. So at Christine Stamping Spot on YouTube. And I think there's a category for Facebook Lives or something. So that way, if you want to write down the measurements, or you want to, you know, oh, how did that fold, or what did she do? You can just go back and check that video, because that will stay there, I think, for as long as until I delete it, I guess. But Facebook, I know they do delete live videos after 30 days. So you can watch it on Facebook for about 30 days, and then you can always go to my YouTube channel and watch it there. Okay, everybody, that's it for me today. Does anybody have any questions or any other things you wanted to chat about? Fanny, I'm sure you're like basking in the sunshine down there. I'm so jealous. But it's okay. It's that time of year. We're actually fortunate that our snow didn't come earlier, right? But it is almost December, so it's okay. Okay, everybody, I hope you enjoyed that project, and give it a try. If you make it, post it on my Facebook page or somewhere, or just so we can all see what you've done. It would be really neat to see your different ideas. So, and we will see you again next week. So have a great weekend, everybody. See you later. Bye.